This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, hello, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another On This Day in Sports Catastrophe History. Today is January the 13th, my brother's birthday. He'll be 45 today, but he's not an athlete, so he ain't my birthday boy or my On This Day stuff. But anyway, this is Frank Mahovlich. Yes, that's Frank Mahovlich. Frank Mahovlich. Frank Mahovlich. A Leaf legend in Habs clothing? You're lying. This is Photoshop. Wrong again, Mr. Doubter. It's gotta be Frank Mahovlich. It is Frank Mahovlich. It looks like him. I'm gonna tell Mr. Doubter, and everyone else, what led to Frank Mahovlich being a Canadian and one of the biggest trades in Montreal Canadiens history. So anyway, Mahovlich is one of the greatest players of all time. His brother Peter played in the NHL too, and he was very decent. 6-time Stanley Cup champion. His career, well, he was born January 10th, 1938, so he's 83 years old. From Timmins, Ontario, 6'1", 205, played left wing for the Leafs, the Wings, and the Habs, or Toronto, Detroit, Montreal, to him, the unknown eye. And then in the WHA with Toronto and Birmingham. So he played 22 years in hockey, professional hockey. He was scouted, but the Leafs signed him and decided to take him to the Toronto St. Michael's Majors. So he went to St. Michael's College School from 54 to 57. Basically, St. Michael's was the Catholic school if you were a Toronto hockey guy. Otherwise, he would be with the Marlboros. He received instructions from Joe Primo, who Mahovlich said would be the best coach ever. Mahovlich was the top player in the OHA for the 56-57 season, which he scored 52 goals in 49 games. He joined the Leafs in 57 and was a 20-goal scorer in his first season. He won the Calder, but the Leafs were last place. He actually did college education at Assumption University in Windsor. Punch Imlach would soon become head coach and general manager, and that would lead to a live triple. But in the meantime, in 1961, Imlach said Mahovlich deserves to be in line with Rod Kelly and Bob Nevin. The three clicked and were the team's top three scorers that year, led by Mahovlich's 48 goals, a league record that would stand till Rick Five became the first league to hit 50 goals, albeit that the 50 goals were in a 80-game season, whereas Mahovlich's 48 goals were in a 70-game season. The Leafs won the cup and were a three-peat team, 62, 63, 64. Mahovlich led the team in goals scored, all of them. Initially, Mahovlich and Imlach got along well. Unfortunately, there was problems, especially with Mahovlich's contract out for Rudo in 1962. The Leafs gave him a low-ball offer and walked out of the team during training camp. At the time, the NHL All-Star Game was actually played between the Stanley Cup champions and a team of All-Stars from the other five teams. So basically, they played at the beginning of the season. Team executives attended a reception. Chicago owner James Norris offered the Leafs $1 million cold cash for Mahovlich, which is nothing to sneeze at. In 1962, finding, he believed he had an agreement with Leafs co-owner Harold Ballard, who was part of a group that took ownership from Conn Smythe in 1957, I think, and paid $1,000 as a deposit with the balance to be delivered by check the next morning. The next day, the Leafs gave Mahovlich the money he was asking for and told the Blackhawks that the agreement was a misunderstanding. The Leafs returned the deposit. The Blackhawks accused the Leafs of reneging on a deal. And Conn Smythe was adamant that his son, Stafford, one of the co-owners of the Leafs, would do something like that. So he basically told Stafford, no way are we getting rid of our best player. Well, Mahovlich actually had a bad relationship with Leaf fans and was booed at home games. Imlach was a constant critic, and Mahovlich was actually admitted to Toronto Hospital, suffering from what was called constant fatigue, aka depression. However, fans gave him well wishes. He still led the Leafs in scoring in 65 despite missing 11 games. Mahovlich looked good in scoring. Mahovlich would have his lowest scoring year when the Leafs won their final Stanley Cup in 1967. Unfortunately, he had depression and tension, and basically he needed to leave the Toronto area. So March 3rd, 1968, the Leafs decided to get rid of him. They traded him to Detroit with Pete Stamkowski Gary Unger, and the rights to Carl Brewer for Normie Ullman, Paul Anderson, yes, that Paul Anderson, Floyd Smith, and Doug Barry. I don't know why the Leafs got rid of Stamkowski. He was a good young scorer. Gary Unger would go on to have one of the longest consecutive game streaks in the NHL. I think he had the record before Doug Jarvis broke it. Carl Brewer always liked to retire and all that. But Normie Ullman in a Leafs jersey, then was it. Paul Henderson was much better off in a Leafs jersey than a Wings jersey. Floyd Smith, he would soon become coach and GM for the Leafs in the tumultuous 80s. Well, Ulrich did pretty well. He was put on the line with Howland of Vakil and did very well for himself. He actually scored 49 goals in a season, which is amazing. And funny enough, his brother Pete was actually on the Red Wings too. In 1970, the Wings had turmoil. GM Sid Abel needed to get rid of Ned Harkis, who basically coached Cornell to greatness in the 1960s with a young Ken Dryden in net, but was overruled by Bruce Norris. When Harkness was GM, he decided to get rid of players he thought would be a threat to him. So, on this day, 50 years ago, he traded Mahovlich to Montreal for Mickey Redmond, Guy Chiron, and Bill Collins. Guy Chiron would actually, I think he still has the record for most games in an NHL career without going to the playoffs, I think. Because I know that there were several players who beat his mark at first, but they got to the playoffs. Chiron played in 734 NHL games and never appeared in the playoffs, which was weird because he could have been part of the 1970 Habs team in the playoffs. But that was the year that the Habs missed out on the final day of the season thanks to goals scored instead of goal differential. And of course, he was traded from Montreal in the 71 season that Montreal ended up winning the Stanley Cup. But you knew that already. Detroit sucked in the 1970s. Marcel Dion wanted to be traded, so they traded him to LA. And then Chiron went to Kansas City and Washington. I think he left Washington. He retired 1 year too soon, and Washington got to the Stanley Cup playoffs in the 82. But yeah, that was huge. Mickey Redmond would be a Detroit legend, not only in broadcasting, but as a player. Well, he was. Bill Collins, who the hell is? However, Peter Mahovlich actually went from Detroit to Montreal before Frank did. So now the Mahovliches were reunited. And Mahovlich played on 2 Stanley Cup winning teams, 71 and 73, which was shocking. It was like Frank Mahovlich helped the Montreal Canadiens win the 71 Stanley Cup. And consider that in that season, Frank Mahovlich and all that. In that season, Montreal managed to win the Stanley Cup and get the number 1 pick. How did they get the number 1 pick? By finagling things. They got a first pick from the California Golden Seals, and found out that the Golden Seals were terrible. But unfortunately, they weren't bad enough. They were the second worst team in the NHL. So the Habs decided to finagle things by sending Ralph Backstrom, their veteran, to Los Angeles so that LA would finish more points than the Golden Seals, which meant the Golden Seals had to give their pick to Montreal. I guess who they drafted? Guy Lafleur. And yes, Frank Mahovlich was a member of Team Canada for the Summit Series. He left to go to the WHA in 1974. He played for Toronto and Birmingham. Well, Birmingham was the team after they got kicked out of Toronto because of Harold Ballard's pettiness and all that. Basically, he didn't want the Toros taking their fans away. Mahovlich was on a line in Birmingham with Frank Beaton and Dave Hansen, who was one of the Hansen brothers in Slapshot. He tried to come back with the Red Wings in 79, but he retired. So, Frank Mahovlich, what does he have for it? He was a Calder Trophy winner in 1958. He played in the All-Star games in 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. So from 1959 to 1974, he only missed 1 All-Star game. That was 66. 3-time NHL first team All-Star. 6-time second team All-Star in the NHL. 6 Stanley Cup, 62, 63, 64, 67 with the Leafs, 71 and 73 with the Habitants. Inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1981. In 1997, he was given the number 26 list on the Hockey News' greatest 100 players. Inaugural inductee into the WHA Hall of Fame as the Legends of the Game. His number's retired by the Leafs, number 27, and this was great. His NHL career, he scored 533 goals, 570 assists in the NHL with 1,103 points in 1,181 games, which was amazing. And in the WHA, he almost got a point a game. He just missed by 5 points. He scored 51 playoff goals in 137 games in the NHL. Mihaljevic actually was made a senator by Jan13, which was weird. So he's a senator. He's part of the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture and Fishing. Oh, sorry, Forestry. Wow, I didn't know. I remember he was a senator, but I thought he left being a senator. Nice. Not an Ottawa senator, but in Canadian politics. The Big M will always be a legend. And heck, his 27 left on in Daryl Sittler. So you can't laugh at him. So anyway, thanks for watching. I do.